So you want to learn anatomy, but you don't know where to start. I know the feeling all too well. So in this video, I'm going to give you a rough idea of what I did to learn anatomy, not in 7 days. Okay, so the first thing you're going to want to do is find yourself some anatomy resources, books, instructors online, anything you can find, anything you like. And what you're going to do is just copy their diagrams. It's going to help you get familiar with the muscle names, where they attach to the bone and all that kind of stuff. It's just a nice place to start, right? It's not overwhelming because you're just copying someone else's drawing. So as you do this, so you're going to be learning one body part at a time. So let's say you were doing the arm and you were drawing diagrams of the arm, and then you're starting to get familiar with the names. And the next thing you'll do is learn where the muscles attach to the bone. Now you won't need to learn how every muscle attaches to the bone. However, there are some that you'll want to know to help you draw diagrams later on. Here Will Weston is showing us how he uses these white marks as part of his construction to show where muscles attach to the bone. So when you're drawing your figures and your anatomy diagrams, you'll want to do something similar. Another thing that you'll want to learn is the form of the muscles. You can do this by adding contour lines, and this will help you with painting and lighting your figure in general. Another thing that you'll want to learn is the mobility. This will help prepare you for when you start to draw figures from imagination. So for example, if you're learning about the arm, you'll want to learn what is the range of motion of the scapula. How does the forearm move? You'll want to learn about all this stuff as well. And the last thing that you'll have to learn is how the muscles squash and stretch and how their shape changes. The muscles are organic forms, so their shape will change. Unfortunately, there's not many resources out there. So the best thing you can do is draw from models of all shapes and sizes. So now that you've learned about all the anatomy, it's time to start applying your knowledge. But before you do that, you need to choose a construction method. So maybe you want to use boxes and cylinders, or maybe you want to use a simple skeleton. Whatever it may be sure to choose something that you're comfortable with for your current skill level. Now once you've done that, it's time to apply. So you'll grab some reference and then you'll draw the anatomy on top. So you'll take all the knowledge that you got from step 1 and you'll try and see the anatomy on the reference. And you'll do this to the best of your ability. There are books out there that show this kind of stuff. Anatomy for Sculptors and Stonehouse Anatomy will be good to look at if you need some help. So now that you've learned to see the anatomy on the reference, it's time to start making your own diagrams. So by this point, you'll have plenty of knowledge and lots of experience with a particular body part. So this step shouldn't be too difficult. So try and set yourself a goal. Maybe if you're doing the arms, maybe you do 50 arms and then you move on. And that'll prevent you from spending too much time on one certain body part. So now that you've learned all the anatomy, you've learned to see it on the reference, and you've made plenty of your own diagrams, now it's time to start simplifying. So here are some simplifications that I learned from Will Weston. You also have Morpho's anatomy book, and you also have Taco's notes available on his X page. So what you'll do is going forward, you'll try and use these shapes when you're doing your figure drawing practice and get used to them. So at this point, you should understand what is being simplified from all the knowledge that you've gathered. On top of all of this, you'll also want to look at professional artists. Now, not every artist posts their figure drawing. However, you do have artists like Crayons Cruciat, TB Choi, and even this artist I found on Pixiv the other day. So again, what you'll do is pay attention to how they like to draw legs, how they like to draw arms, and so on. So you'll take these shapes, these simplifications, and try and use it for your own figure drawing. So now that you made it this far, now it's time for creative anatomy. So creative anatomy means that now you're comfortable with the anatomy and you know where things go. Now you can start having fun with the reference and start drawing from imagination, and so on. So just like the previous step, what you can do is look at artists and see how they do this. With all this knowledge now you'll be better equipped to understand what your favorite artists are doing. So before you go out there and start learning anatomy, I have a few tips for you. The first one being is that you can't learn anatomy in 7 days, unfortunately. I know there's a lot of videos out there about learning anatomy in 7 days, but it's very unrealistic and you shouldn't go in with that expectation. Expect to go through quite a few rounds of anatomy, but don't go in with a very tight time frame to learn anatomy. Just go at your own pace. My next tip would be is that it's okay to not understand everything on your first round of learning anatomy. There are just some parts of the body that are quite hard to understand. For example, the forearm, because it rotates, it just makes it tricky to understand how everything connects. So expect to run into some trouble when you're learning anatomy, but try not to worry about it too much, because you should expect to learn anatomy quite a few times. It took me 4 rounds of anatomy to get really comfortable. So my next tip will be, try and learn from multiple sources. What you'll find is that some books are good at explaining things, and then you'll find that other books are good at explaining other things. So you can mix and match and just take what you like. So the next thing will be, is if you can, try and get yourself some feedback. So there's a great video here by Veritasium, and it talks about the 4 things you need to become an expert. Right, and one of those things is feedback. So if you want to improve faster, try and get some feedback. Speaking of, I am now offering figure drawing mentorships over on Gumroad. So if you have any questions, just leave them in the comments or send me a message on Discord. And my last tip will be, is that you don't need to learn a skeleton in too much detail. If you can get comfortable with a nice, simple skeleton like I have here, you'll be good to go. And if you need anything extra, just refer to your anatomy resources. Okay, and that'll be all. I hope that was helpful. Again, if you have any questions about the video or mentorships, drop them in the comments or join my Discord. The link is in the description. Okay, see you in the next one.